Today we're going to be looking at an LPG conversion on the 101 and a random look round fill Spitfire.
We'll come back to the sofa for the roundup section, which will be a discussion on what will possibly be the fastest car in the world.
Good afternoon, class. To understand how the LPG system is going to work, you're going to need to understand very basically how a carburetor works. Now, the diagram behind me shows a carburetor with its throttle open and closed. As the engine turns, air is drawn in through the carburetor and through the throttle butterfly. As the throttle butterfly is opened and twists round, it allows more air to come through the carburetor. Now, as the air is drawn through the carburetor, this causes the piston to raise upwards, because physics. Now, the piston is connected to the needle. That pulls the needle up, allowing more fuel through the jet and more fuel into your engine. When fitting the LPG system, a mixer is used, which looks like this. We cut off the supply of fuel from down below, and that area is then completely unused. Now, with the mixer attached, the air being sucked through the carburetor also sucks gas in from the mixer, and this provides our air-fuel mixture into the engine as before.
In preparation for fitting the LPG system, we're having a quick look at the timing and how the engine's running on petrol. So it's running up to temperature now. We've done a quick check on the revs. It's meant to be idling at 600, it's currently idling at 750, so we'll have to make an operation there. We've got the colour tube kit plugged in one of the spark plugs, and we seem to be getting a nice blue flame in the rust chamber, so that's good. And we'll just take the opportunity while she warms up to move the jerry can rack so that the LPG tank can go in the gap.
Before we fitted the LPG system, we needed to ensure that the truck was idling at the correct speed on petrol. Setting the idle also means balancing the carbs.
Do someone want to tighten that slightly? Tighten that screw up, just give it a quarter turn. Tighten it. We're almost at 3.5.
The tool you see being used here is a Gunson carb balancer. It's a very simple device for measuring airflow, and the readings don't really matter, we're just trying to get a balance between the two carburetors. We originally tried to measure the RPMs on the engine. We used the optical measuring device directly on the pulley wheel, which is what you're supposed to do. Now, we attach a little bit of reflective tape, and the idea is every time the tape comes round, it casts a reflection back to the meter and lets you know how fast the engine's turning. Because possibly the wheels painted green or whatever, it was reflecting too much light, that didn't work, we couldn't get a good reading. Then we came up with a very clever, we thought, idea of using the timing gun, the strobe light, and just kind of fitting that into the meter and trying to block out the extra light. And that would give us a pulse of light every time the engine turned, and therefore give us a good measure of how fast the engine was turning. What we didn't think of at the time was that the engine actually turns twice every time a spark plug fires. Because of that, we actually wound up setting our idle at 1200 RPM instead of 600.
Here we have the vaporizer, which was originally going to be mounted in these two holes here on a little piece of stuff, but riv nuts are rubbish and they fell out when I pulled on them.
Right.
So we've done a better job of it here. It's nice and solid there now. We've got the petrol cut-off valve already in place and routed. This is the LPG cut-off valve. Fuel's going to come in there and out there, and we're going to route it round here and down into the vaporizer here.
The vaporizer is the most important bit of the LPG kit. It performs a number of tasks. When the air is sucked in through the engine, a diaphragm in the vaporizer controls how much gas is sent through along with the air, sort of taking over the function of the carburetor. The vaporizer is, as you might guess from its name, what's responsible for turning the LPG, the liquid petroleum gas, into a gas. Turning the fuel from a liquid to a gas causes the vaporizer to get very cold. To prevent it from freezing up, it has to be plumbed into the vehicle's water system, taking hot water from the engine and returning cold water back into the system. Water system, we're still waiting on parts. Mixers, we're still waiting on parts because they sent the wrong ones. Is the wiring from the box up there, which is now at a funny angle because
the box up there where Richard's pointing.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes.
I stuck it down with double-sided sticky Velcro and then pulled it off, and it pulled the tape off as well.
So that's the on-off switch, effectively.
Effectively, that's the changeover switch and all the electronics that controls it. This is the other end of all those wires, and we're going to be wiring all that in, hopefully later today. Mixers should slot in there, and we were sent the SU mixers rather than the Stromberg mixers. So we need to get those changed. You're not filming now, eh?
I am indeed filming. We got to do the filming thing, you know.
I know, but I'm not in the mood for it. I'm working on a car in the mood.
Well, that's why I'm doing the filming and you're doing the working on the car.
We just fit this lovely pipe with an anti-vibration loop in between here and over here. Unfortunately, being somewhat inexperienced, I don't know how steeply you can bend this pipe. I don't really want to bend it too much, and there's a limited area in which I can put it. So I've got a fairly steep bend on here. We're coming across and nicely protected under this piece of iron, and this mount is sort of equidistant to both sides, so I need to get this round into here, and then the other one coming up when it comes up from the tank. I'll have to somehow fit in there. I can twist this, but since I don't know where we're going to route the tank, I don't really want to make a decision this early. So Richard has suggested unbolting this, bending this pipe down, out and back round into position, and then bringing this up to it, putting them together and then rebolting it onto there, which seems to be a reasonable solution.
I would say so.
The initial problem I had when I did this was I had a big coil of pipe here and I connected this end, and I probably should have tried to get the pipe fitting before I connected anything. So next time. Right, things have moved on a little further from where we were. We've still got this rather dodgy pipe in, but it's fixed and in now. You're meant to have an anti-vibration loop in this thing. I'm not sure why, because there's other bits of pipe that it doesn't say anything about an anti-vibration loop. So, and I'm not quite sure how the hell you loop this pipe without it being massive.
Here's a couple. Do you want the pipe on the butters or not?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So, other things that we've done. I've got wiring into this plug. The yellow wire is going to go to the petrol solenoid. The green wire is for the fuel tank sender unit. Unfortunately, I don't want to wire. I've wired one side of the. I'm just using whatever colour of wire I have. This is from the petrol solenoid. I've wired one side up ready for the other side of the plug, but the sender unit wire, I don't really want to wire this massive long wire in until I know where it's going to come from, so I can cut it to size. And until we fit the tank, we can't really do that, so that's just going to stay how it is for a while. There's a slight issue with both solenoids. Now, it may be that when you fit a solenoid, it doesn't matter which way around positive and negative go, but nothing in the LPG kit fitting instructions, nothing in the paperwork that comes with the solenoids and explains what everything is. There is nowhere does it tell you which side of the electrical connection is positive and which is negative, and it doesn't mention it on the device either, which I think is a bit of an oversight in the instructions, and I moaned about it a lot. So for the moment I'm just putting things on, and our LPG mechanic can have a look at it when I'm done. The final thing I've just been doing is running an earth to the centre here, straight from the negative on the battery, so that I can take earth leads from the various devices to this central point and know that I've got a really good earth. And we're trying to solder things as we go and make sure they're all really good connections. And it's all taking 10 times longer than it should. All these wires come out here, and unfortunately I threaded the whole thing through and then realised that the red one, which is a switched supply, really just needs to be up near where the box is in the cab. I slit the covering and tried to pull it through and failed, so we've just taken a piece out there, added on a bit of wire and just put it up into the ignition, which was a lot more difficult than you might think. You got that plug on yet?
Funny like.
It is true, yeah.
I'm just seeing what sort of position you're in, woman. This is ridiculous.
Wait.
You know what?
Don't let anyone ever tell you a 101 is an easy vehicle to work on.
101 reasons why not to buy one.
Don't rock the boat too much.
Spark plug wise, we've now got one whole side of the engine done because of a really difficult monkey hole in this head, we think. either we've stripped it or it has been previously cross-threaded or whatever, it's very difficult to get access to, and we've wound up making a tool essentially by getting a deep drive 14mm socket, a much deeper one than we had, and angle grinding around the edges of it to make it a bit thinner at the end so it'll fit in the socket.
In a little recess. It was a bit of a challenge, but it's in and it seems to be happy enough to run. So
unfortunately I'm having to use I've got some very nice connections here and there with lovely plastic covers on, and then some of them I'm still soldering everything as I've been asked to, but some of them are more of the crimp style connectors, and then some of them don't fully cover together, so I've wound up putting a bit of tape around that one. It's just an earth, so it's not a major problem, but I wish I had the materials to do a slightly better job than I'm doing, but it needs must.
we've removed the alternator. You see the alternator's lying on top of the engine. We've removed the alternator to fit a T-piece for the LPG system. Ian is currently trying to slice off a bit of tube
Without slicing off a bit of finger.
without slicing off any digits, so that we can put that T-piece into the water system. A bit of that shiny looking pipe you can see at the top. We've cut the metal pipe in order to fit the T-piece in for the cooling system and the LPG kit.
Right, well, we've reached late Friday on the Fit the LPG week. We've achieved quite a bit. Tank isn't done because that's going to be done by the garage. But we've kind of reached an impasse here. The carb balancing that we did wrong, I've been trying to do again all week, but we keep running out of time, or as now again we've run out of time, but also the engine is not in a state to run. Parts finally arrived for the radiator fitment. The top section, despite my measuring things, seems to be a different size to the bottom section, or I don't know, maybe I just can't count. But the 25mm, the inch pipe that we've adapter we've got, it isn't an inch, and it doesn't fit, so we're leaking water. So I need to go back to the drawing board and try and buy smaller parts again. The carbs have to be balanced with the air device on, which means that has to be done before the mixers can be put on. I do have the right mixers now. Tinley have sent me some new ones. They look like they were chiselled out by a small child, as opposed to the nice finished SU ones I had previously. But they do fit. We've removed the studs from the carburetors. Everything looks like it'll go on pretty much beautifully. I just can't fit them yet. Electrics are all done. Just needs a bit of something wrapping around these wires and plugging together and testing, possibly with a multimeter, to make sure everything's right. But we basically just can't go any further until we get this water pipe sorted out, which means more parts ordering. So I think I'm going to shut this up for the night and probably not come back to it at all this weekend because I've had enough.
So everything not going too well with that at the minute?
Yes, that was a very depressing time. There were a lot of problems. So I think to cheer ourselves up, let's have a look at something funny. Let's have a look at Phil's very first attempt at doing a ReTREAD ramble.
Hi, people in internet land, folks, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, elephants. Today we're going to learn about, I should really look at the camera, this 1500 Spitfire. One thing to say is, it is raining, as you can see, it's bad weather. This had to be done for the purposes of the other members would get a bit yeah because this car's better than theirs. So they wanted the weather to be worse just so it didn't look as good. A feature it has is locks. Never particularly work. You lock your girlfriend in. I want to get out. Tough, stay in there, bitch. Right? Oh, it's working today. Yeah, that's a good feature today. So, doors open and shut. The boot, right? And it can carry all the essentials. A Mr. Potato Head. And also fruit and vegetables. right? So it is useful. So people are going, no, it's not useful, my Land Rover, right? They're talking rubbish, right? This is the best feature, or one of the good features of the car. Lots of access. Can get right in, get my hands in, really fiddle about. You can get right in. You can even sit down and have a good work and feel, and oh, that's quite hot, that. About the engine, you can really get in, meaning working on this is really a piece of cake. Well, till you knock something up. Inside, all the lovely dirty bits, right? The bits that make some people go quah, right? That's the quah 1500 engine, bish bash bosh, right? We're not fat Yanks, so we have twin carbs. Americans would only have one of them because they have stupid laws. Simple as that. What that does mean now is if these go, you have the problem of all the Americans are now buying them up to try and make theirs as quality as the British cars. In the 1960s, they wanted to compete in the small car market, small engine, small car market. Triumph. They made a car codenamed the Bomb. Anyway, they were, like most car makers in Britain, rather strapped for cash, so it got shelved. Then the truck company of Leyland took them over that year, and I take it when they're having a look around the factory, somebody that obviously had some clout looked under a cover and seen the Bomb. And then that was, he said straight away, produce that. So within a matter of months, the Spitfire was born and was going around. The Spitfire 4, as it was called, via the 4 cylinders rather than anything actual real. It wasn't the 4th. Just backwards. But anyway, this is the 1500 model. That's the last that they ever made, and this is 1979. I was looking at the view there. A 1979 one. They stopped making them in the 80s. They did one in 1980 even. The 80s is a long time. They decided that, well, the silly little MX-5s and stuff. However, they don't have this amount of access, so yeah, with your silly foreign cars. So its main competitor is the MG Midget. The 1500 version of them doesn't have this nice stuff. Oh, look at it stroking, it's nice. Haha, they have stupid bumpers that are horrible. This is good for is sitting up and being a poser, even if it is this rainy day. You do this and you're out in the elements. Oh, and the rain's even stopping. Another feature comes off. That'll be easily solved. Is impress the females by giving it a bit of well, that was a bit of a look at my car. As you see, I treat it a bit rough, but then that's how I like me ladies. So in episode 6, we are going to have a Spitfire special.
That was a little bit different.
Yeah, just a little, Phil.
But it was good.
Yeah. It's a nice looking car. Looks good on the screen.
All facts and figures need to be verified. 101 a conversion, up now.
There's not a lot of room where we were to fit the T-piece in because the Land Rover's designed the metal pipes to come almost together and fixed with a tiny bit of rubber pipe. And we've tried to cut it there, and we're trying to fit the T-piece by a couple of rubber pieces almost onto a bend, and it's not a very good place. There's a straight down here where we come off the heater and go back in, so we're going to cut on the straight, put a longer piece of hose in so we can get a better seal and hopefully not have any leaks this time round.
This is the pipe that we've taken off part of the water system. The reason we've taken it off is because everything's tight, and as you can see we've had to slot that and crimp this end just to create a little bit of a bevel and try and get the hose on with WD-40 and fairy liquid and anything else we can get our hands on. So,
and this is because I haven't got the right size hose, basically.
no, I think it's because this is 30-year-old pipe that isn't metric. I mean, you can see the thickness of the pipe there. It's you wouldn't
it's
have
a couple
this
of mil
on
thick.
Yeah, you wouldn't have it on a modern vehicle. They wouldn't do it for simple cost. I mean, it's over-engineered to the point of silliness. But that was 101s. So you're less inclined to video things when it's not going well, and more inclined when it's going to plan.
Well, this is hopefully going to plan. As you can see, we are now slowly filling the water system, and down there is our shiny new bit of pipe, and down here you'll see my fingers crossed, but it's not going to leak.
Well, so far the ground underneath is dry.
Up along here we've got the other new section around the vaporizer, which is all plumbed in. We never got anywhere near that height last time, so fingers crossed.
It's safe to say we're doing alright this time, mate.
We sorted out the water system after a lot of sort of blood, sweat and tears, and rather large amount of money. I've spent about 75 quid on extra pipe work. By the time you get the specialist bits ordered from the internet and the delivery charge and whatnot I've been trying to sort out, it's very annoying. But we have finally got a watertight system with the vaporizer in the loop, and this is the pipe that comes out the vaporizer, and it's beautifully red hot since we've just been running the engine for quite a while. The carbs are balanced, it's idling perfectly at about 600 RPMs, which is what we wanted. The carbs are as close as damn it as they're going to get to perfectly balanced. So all we need to do now is get the studs sorted out into the carburetors, and then we can connect up the mixers, do the pipe work for that, and we're pretty much there really. This is the carburetor here. There were two studs, one on either side, with different types of thread on, and the kit comes with 3 bolts. Now, for certain types of air adapters that would be fine, but for this one, as you can see, you get 1 bolt in there, 1 bolt in there. This one, because of the shape, means you can't actually fit a bolt into there. So we did need another stud. What we've done, we couldn't get a hold of one of these with 2 different types of thread on with a longer piece on this end. So what we've got is a bit of threaded bar with this larger thread on the bottom all the way up and some nuts to fit it. So we're just going to cut that to the appropriate length, screw it into there, and then put the appropriate nuts on. We might actually do both sides, we'll see how we feel.
I'm not
That's
quite
the plan.
sure whether this will be long enough. What do you think?
It was cheap. I'm almost in a position where I can hand this off to the garage and say, fit me a tank and run the LPG piping. So, cup of tea time, very happy. So at this stage we pretty much had everything done. There was just a few bits of piping to do on the low pressure end, fitting the mixers on with those new studs and wiring up the gas supply from the vaporizer to the mixers. Dead simple. The centre, which should cut off all the fuel.
Have you done it?
Yeah.
It's...
One issue we did encounter was, as you saw there on the video, we couldn't get the pedal to cut off. Now we think this is because the 101 has an electrically powered fuel pump which was overpowering the fuel solenoid. So what we wound up doing was wiring in a relay to the fuel pump, which would cut off the fuel at the fuel pump as well as using the fuel cut off solenoid when we flick the switch to centre or to gas. After we had the tank fitted by the garage, this is where I ran into problems. The garage was not as helpful as they could have been. They didn't seem to want to know anymore when it came to testing and certification. I wound up having to use a different garage for that. The Land Rover passed fairly easily. There was only one slight issue with the automatic cut-off. A wire connected to the negative side of the coil, which is supposed to tell the electronics box when the engine's turning, didn't seem to be sensing the signal properly. What we actually had to do was wind that wire around the main HT lead, and that gave us a good signal on the wire. And that was it. 101 fixed, and I immediately went out and got it stuck in the mud like this. So, fast cars then. Let's move away from our own vehicles for a bit. What sort of things like a Bugatti Veyron seems to be one everyone seems to know about. What sort of speeds do they do?
Straight line speed with the Veyron, if it's got the air brake down, the fin down, it's in excess of 200. It's about 220 miles per hour, I think.
And like Formula 1 cars?
Similar. They changed the rules with them so much, but I think the basic straight line speed is about 220, 250.
Right. So way, behind the land speed sort of cars. I'm just going back to Thrust 2. 633 mile an hour was Richard Noble managed in that.
What year was that?
I can't remember. I think I wrote it down somewhere and then lost it.
We'll stick it in a little bit at the bottom.
Yeah. So Andy Green then came along in Thrust SSC, and this was on the 13th of December 1997. Set what is the current record.
That's about 700 or something, isn't it?
763 miles per hour.
Right.
That's the current record. In 97, and we haven't topped it yet.
So and that's 15, fast, folks.
15 years ago.
Yeah. It is a long time. But they are working on something new. If you haven't heard about this, this is what we kind of want to tell people about. BloodhoundSSC.com is where you can find out all the information, which we can have a quick discussion about it. And the target for that car is 1,000 miles per hour on land.
That's quite impressive and ambitious target.
Is that faster than a shit off a stick?
That's way faster than shit off a stick.
It's faster than you can demolish a piece.
The Thrust SSC broke the sound barrier on land, and this is just stupid.
I think the sound barrier is about 650 mile an hour.
Yeah.
650.
So what they're using is they're using a Eurofighter Typhoon engine out of a jet to power this thing, and then once that's maxed itself out, because that's not going to be fast enough, they've then got a liquid fueled rocket engine strapped to it as well.
So that basically it sounds like the jet engine is the world's biggest starter motor.
In a way, yeah. There is actually there is actually a Cosworth V8 in this thing as well.
So that's the sort of engine.
Yeah, that's producing 800 brake horsepower, and that's there purely to drive the pump for the rocket fuel.
Oh dear, right, yes, yeah. It kind of puts the perspective on the engineering.
It is an insane piece of engineering.
It really does. Hey, that's so. What else is inside this thing then? What's the other bits and pieces it's got in it?
A person.
Well, yeah, I would assume so.
Yes, it has to have a driver, and none of it can be sort of controlled from outside the car in any way. It's got to be steered and driven purely from within the car.
That's a record stipulation,
yes,
is it? Oh, right, okay.
The other stipulation is it has to have 4 wheels.
Well, to be defined as a car.
Yeah.
Or 3 wheels, I can't remember. You might get away with 3.
No, I believe you've got to have 4 wheels, so no sort of... You wouldn't really want to do it on a bike, would you? At 1,000 miles an hour.
Really. So we can't make a very fast Robin Reliant.
Apparently not. No.
You can't even make a shuttle out of one, man.
Yeah.
So
I believe they originally talked about using titanium for the wheels.
What have they gone with? What have they used?
But I believe they've gone for solid aluminium wheels.
No tyres.
No tyres.
No tyres. No.
No tyres.
The forces on the wheels turning at 1,000 miles an hour, even making them out of solid metal, to make them not disintegrate and explode is
the
is
wheels
a big
are actually
challenge.
running at 50,000 G.
50,000 G. What's the RPMs?
At about 1,000 RPM, I think, possibly.
1,000 RPM.
That can't be right.
No, it's got to be high. 10,000 RPM, maybe.
10,000 RPM is the limit of standard brakes.
Right.
I think. I don't know. I can't remember. I'd have to work it out. But yeah. Well, either way, standard brakes is 250 mile an hour, isn't it? Give or take.
So how does this thing? How does it slow down then, Simon?
Parachutes.
Right.
Parachutes and air brakes, similar to planes, etc.
Because I think that the track is like 10 miles long, and it's got to accelerate all the way up to there and back down again.
Half of the track to get up to the speed, 4.5 kilometres, and then the other 4.5 to slow down. And bless him, he's got his pet out. Yeah. So basically, big parachutes and air brakes. That's how they're going to stop it.
Awesome.
Any more stuff?
I think
Have a look
we
at
said
the
enough
website.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please do go and check it out. It's a waste of several lunch hours having a look around that website.
You've obviously wasted several lunch hours doing
I have
this.
indeed, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If you're into all geeky and into engineering, I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
Yeah,
If you're not looking at
amazing what
porn.
they've got to solve. Yeah. But not at work. Welcome to our first feedback segment. We've had a number of different feedbacks from a number of different sources, and I can't tell you how wonderful it is to have had that. It really, really is useful to have people telling us what you think, and especially constructive criticism on how we can improve. We've taken it all on board, even if we don't mention it in the next couple of minutes, and hopefully you'll see a progression from episodes 1 and 2 to sort of episodes 3 and 4, that we have taken your comments on board and things are getting a little bit better. So some of the first feedback that we had was that episode 1 especially, there were some very dark bits in it, and that the audio levels were all over the place. I wonder if our director, producer and everything else could give us some answers on that.
Yeah, well, a lot of work actually done behind the scenes in sorting that out for you, so a lot of post-correction with the audio and mixing that to get the levels right for you, and then a lot of colour correction and colour grading in all the clips. I think
So that's
really
gone in
improved.
from episode 2 onwards?
From
yeah?
episode 2 onwards, yeah, we've really improved on that, yeah. Looks quite good now.
Awesome, thank you.
Another thing that was picked up on one of them was the mixture of funniness and seriousness. I think everyone sort of likes the technical comments and the geek over there, but they also like the funny parts of it, and I hope we've got the right balance between funny and technical.
Yeah, I know I'm very technical.
Yeah,
And you're really
he's very
funny.
funny.
Funny looking!
What was my section again?
I knew that was coming. That's why I can manage to read it.
Yeah, I can't see that because
Well, that's because you're sitting in that chair.
Yeah, I got
Scripting.
Oh yeah, scripting. Okay, well there's
That was
there's a case of.
It's a very good example. Yeah.
So basically, when we try to script things, it always took like anywhere between 5 and 10 takes to get it right.
That's just me.
Everyone
Even
of
for a
us,
couple of sentences, it takes ages
Yeah.
to get everything right.
and I'm sure we'll once we've got everything out for the series, we'll cobble together a blooper reel, and you can all have a laugh at our expense. So just to keep things flowing, we tend to do the ad lib thing more than scripting, but we'll try and mix and match.
I think we're learning that when we're ad-libbing and we say it wrong, we can just stop and say it again and cut around it, and hopefully we're going to get a more flowing structure.
Yeah,
Which I think has worked as we've gone on. It's got better. So.
yeah, hopefully.
Must be me now, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
My bit of feedback. One of the comments was that there wasn't much of the actual cars, and that came down to technical problems to start off with. Was the producer could only nick one camera from Dixon's. He's now got better at it, and we're now getting far more equipment, and we're getting like a lot more equipment. Unfortunately, he's been banned from Dixon's now, so I think it's Curry's now. He's going to go down to.
it's the same company.
Curry's Digital, I believe it's called.
Dot digital.
Dot digital. That's the same company, but you know what these companies are like. They don't.
Yeah.
One doesn't talk to the other.
All right then.
Anyway, so all this equipment you're going to see in the next 2 episodes that are shaping up, if the editor can edit it all right, to be 2 very good episodes. So
He's laughing
I
behind the camera.
think you should be able to see a vast improvement. But don't tell the coppers.
So thank you very much again, those people who have given us some feedback and given us some information. Please keep it coming. Thanks for watching the episode. Check out our website and our blogs at www.retread.tv.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.
Hit the like button on the Facebook page, and also follow us on Twitter.
And give us an email. Ow.